Hello Guardians and welcome back. In my previous video I mentioned I wanted to do a video about Saint-14. This has been done almost to death by now surely, but nevertheless I wanted to share with you all my own thoughts about this impressive titan. Now, my first video was a fanboys rant about the incredible warlock. This video will be much the same in its tone. So here's the thing. He's dead. That's almost 100% the case, I'm sure. I mean, arguments could be made that the version of him is just a simulation, but no, I don't think so. However you try to put it, he went missing on Mercury. His signature was detected in the Infinite Forest, and I don't know, just thinking about it in a broad sense, you inevitably find holes in it that seem to prove the Sleeping Beauty is the real deal. Plus, actually, our ghost confirms as much. The head-banging legend of Saint-14 is one that has been told as far back as early Destiny 1, I think. This guy was a monster in battle, and very much true to his name. He represented the ideals of the tower as perfectly and as saint-like as any titan or guardian could. He protected the citizens of the fledgling city forming at his back as he stood against the relentless tide of darkness. He went on a crusade to eradicate a fallen threat to the city, making sure the last city would be protected. He single-handedly obliterated the Kell of a prominent house with his head. I surely don't need to tell you how wicked that is, right? I mean, we're all standing there with our fancy guns and colorful magic, and he's just there like, oh damn, this guy's got me in a tight grip. Guess I better headbutt him. This feels like the first response to a "you know you're a titan when" joke. The natural response to not having use of any other part of his body to hurt the Kell. He just beats the Kell to death with his own head, then immediately flies away on another mission, like it was another day in the damn office. He just got the job done. Period. Dude had more power in his forehead than we've had in 2 games. I feel like that's a fair and depressing comparison. As I've said before, when we compare him to the likes of other Guardians like Zavala, the gap is impressive. Where Osiris is the inquisitive warlock powerhouse we all want to be, Saint-14 is the unbreakable titan we could only hope to be. His sheer force of will would give any enemy pause to reconsider every decision that led them to that moment opposite that exo on the field of battle. As is typical for any titan, he threw himself into the Infinite Forest on Mercury in search of his old friend Osiris at the request of the speaker without second thought. And he was never seen or heard from again. That is, until we begin a quest that itself starts with the emergence of an old signal. We quickly recognize this signal as belonging to the long-lost Titan himself. I was over the freaking moon, man. I mean, a chance to rescue and meet yet another legend from Destiny's lost past. I jumped right into it, tracing the signal to its end within the Infinite Forest, and we discover a powerful burst of light from which a horde of Vex emerge. Our ghost notes that the Vex were attempting to contain the light. Forgive me, I'm recalling this from about 2 weeks ago. I've stupidly lost some of the footage, so I'm going off of memory here. So the Vex are attempting to contain this massive burst of Saint-14's own light. Curious and worrisome. It was in this moment that Osiris shares a sentiment regarding the missing exo, one of friendship, which has someone who has wondered whether the camaraderie between them was mutual. This is a pretty cool thing to hear. But, yeah, so obviously at this point we're left wondering why did we come here and find this ridiculous burst of light? What happened to make this light just there, and why were the Vex standing in it? And so soon we set off on a mission to actually find Saint-14 after completing a series of annoying, grindy objectives, wherever he is within the Infinite Forest. And so we arrive in a simulation of the dark future, our end. After something of an annoying run around the simulation, we arrive at a small room, always there, but only accessible with the quest. And there, at the end of the room, draped in fabric, covering worn armor and bathed in a singular ray of light, Saint-14. We approach the body, suspended above the ground, motionless, serene almost. Surrounded by a haunting example of his strength and undeniable resilience, and the thousands upon thousands of Vex bodies piled high around him, higher than any of us in this place. And our ghost confirms for us once again, this is him. This is Saint-14, and he is gone. We retrieve from him a memento in the form of a weapon, the shotgun known as Perfect Paradox. In it, a lore tab he is speaking as if to another guardian, but not Osiris as he references him in the text. It is believed that the individual he is speaking to in this text is us. This has stirred considerable furrowing of brows across the Destinyverse, as many have gone deep into the lore to determine what this all means. Time travel sits at the core of the most prevailing theory, the idea being that at some point we go back in time for some reason, as always, and we meet Saint-14. It's weird though, because the way he speaks of us in the text suggests he knows us well, saying, "Not that you worry much," in an excerpt from the text. See, that's not just an observation you make of someone you've just met. Not that you worry much. How would you know that if having only just met the person? I'm going to diverge for a moment because I think there's something else that needs clearing out of the way first. I've wondered if what we found was simply the manifestation of a simulation within the infinite forest that we've been able to take out. But then our ghost confirms that this is Saint-14, and really, if you try to think about any aspect of this as a simulation, you inevitably run into brick walls. If he's the result of a simulation of a future Saint-14, and the shotgun is the extension of that simulation's past, how then does he still come to know of us and speak of us as familiar friends, unless at some point we do actually meet him? I don't think we've ever known a Vex simulation in the lore to represent a lie. Always a potential, if not inevitable, truth. If he met a simulation of us in the infinite forest wherein we gave him the weapon to fight against the Vex, why then does he reference the Cryptarchs as having credited us for the creation of the weapon? He would have had to have met with them before going into the forest. So you see, either way, whichever way you look at it, trying to trace a certain chronology of events inevitably leads to outside of the infinite forest, to whatever source. It's kind of impossible to avoid problems in that way of thinking, so the ridiculousness of previously unmentioned time travel is left as the only reasonable answer here. But earlier I talked about us going back in time. No. I don't think that's the case. In the lore tab he says yours is a thriving city, so different from mine. My whole 14th life I fought to make my city yours. That whole paragraph suggests to me that if time travel is ever involved to resolve this part of the story, it will be him coming to us, not us to him. Otherwise, how would he know the difference between his city and ours? We could tell him, but he is sincere in his words, as though he hasn't just heard about our thriving city, he has seen it for himself. I believe he will visit us at some point in the future, where he will observe our exploits and our light, and marvel in the same way we do at him. Interestingly, he talks about mourning the fact that he will never reach the heights we have, suggesting our legend will grow to surpass even his, if it hasn't already. I mean, look at the devastation we've left behind us, really. The Hive aren't happy with us, the Fallen really aren't happy with us. The Vex probably don't care, but they probably wouldn't be happy with us if they did. The Cabal, they've got bigger problems, I think. Anyway, that our legend and our city will inspire him to become Saint-14, the Saint-14 that we've read about. How cool would that be? So that's kind of the whole theory, I guess. I'm certainly not the first to report it, but it's definitely one I wholeheartedly support, and one I hope to see fulfilled in the future. Anyway, there we have it. The end of Saint-14, who stood solo for centuries against the near-endless onslaught of the Vex, only fell when the Vex learned to drain his light. He alludes to the specificity of the frequency of his light. A thought. This is an interesting thought as well. Perhaps this is the answer to the Vex being able to see Sagira and Osiris in the trailer, perhaps. Maybe they learned it from fighting Saint-14 for hundreds of years. Dude went on, and even after he'd run out of bullets, I can actually imagine him standing in that room just endlessly headbutting Vex one after another as though he were thinking of a much-enjoyed metal concert. I don't know, maybe he was into metal, 21st century metal. You know what? This is my simulation, and in it he's headbutting Vex blasting heavy metal because Titans don't need to do anything quietly. As a fan who prides himself a hunter, Saint-14 was more than just a legendary Titan within the lore. He was the guardian of legend, the physical embodiment of what it means to be a warrior of the light and of the traveler. And in his bittersweet tomb we get to close this chapter of the story, if only for the moment. So thanks for listening, Guardians. That was this fanboy's take on Saint-14 and musings on what's more to come. I sincerely hope you enjoyed it. And at the end of my first and second videos, I actually ended it with a sign-off that I feel is a sentiment we can carry in our own lives, and that I feel also represents Saint-14 to a T as well. So I would like to finish with that sign-off again. Goodbye for now, and as always, be light unrelenting.